Good morning and welcome back to the Livingston Parish News Morning Show. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you joining us this morning, watching this live on Facebook. Thanks for that. If you are watching or listening later, we do upload these shows to www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. We appreciate you listening, watching, whatever it is that you're doing to participate in the show. We do appreciate it. Thanks for that. Getting into your traffic this morning. You're looking at an accident on I-12 westbound. It's causing delays from Millerville back to O'Neill, and then really there's kind of a small gap, and then you got a big old delay back to Jubin Road. Of course, that's causing some delays on the surface streets, including 190 at 4H Club Road and River Road, as well as 190 at Jubin. So looking at some heavy delays going into work today. It is kind of a dreary morning, so the traffic matches the weather. Looking at minor delays on 64 heading into Central, with some minor delays on Greenville Springs right now. Hopefully they won't get too heavy. If you take a left there off of 64 heading onto Greenville Springs again. Also looking at some big delays in and around the larger high schools. That includes Denham, Walker, and Live Oak. Weather today, it's currently 63 degrees. Going to get up to 77, so it's going to be warm today. You're looking at 61 as your overnight low. So we're looking at some pretty decent little 15, 20 degree fluctuations between day and night. Again, 77 your high, 61 your overnight low. The session began yesterday. The governor, John Bell Edwards, got up and started talking about a couple of initiatives that he's looking forward to this year, mostly looking at things like education, especially higher education, looking to bring more funding into those areas, especially with the budget being in a little bit of flux as they try to sort it out over the course of the legislative session. He's also looking at rural areas, looking to bring a little more secondary education, some broadband internet. There it is. Couldn't come up with it. I do apologize. And some sort of, I can't think of it this morning. I'm sorry. I'm having a brain fart. It's, work training. There it is. Whew. Sorry about that. Let's start that over. Looking to bring, working with his rural caucus and rural task force to try to bring things like broadband internet, work training, and more secondary education opportunities to the rural areas of Louisiana. So again, he gave a speech before the session, as he always does, State of the State, I guess you can call it. He also announced that we have our first presumptive case of coronavirus here in Louisiana. It was discovered in New Orleans. A letter sent out from administration to staff of the Veterans Affairs Hospital said that an individual who came in showed all the signs and all of the markers for coronavirus. Of course, his samples have been sent off to the CDC, which is the Center for Disease Control, to confirm that it is coronavirus, but everyone has been informed, so it'll be interesting to see how far it gets out from there. Again, the coronavirus has a high infection rate, not a high fatality rate, but it can be fatal for those with already underlying conditions or the elderly. So please wash your hands, be mindful of those around you, especially if they're coughing, sneezing, that sort of thing. Sometimes you can't protect yourself from others, so it's best to keep a mindful watch around you. Speaking of the coronavirus, we also spoke to Dr. Bill Cassidy, who's a United States Senator, yesterday. There will be a podcast coming out this afternoon. We had about a 20-minute conversation with him over the phone, talking about all sorts of healthcare changes that he's looking to make, especially here in 2020. We talked about the coronavirus. The federal government has dedicated $500 million to try to expand telehealth abilities. What that would mean is trying to fund individual professionals that can go out, take blood samples, blood pressure, that sort of thing, while a potentially infected member of the community can communicate with a doctor via FaceTime or via Skype or some sort of video technology to be able to talk to the doctor, see about their results, tell them what's going on. That way they don't have to go into a hospital where the chance of infection is higher if they don't have it, or they bring it into a hospital setting which is already crowded and infect other people. So looking to be a little more, I guess you could say isolated with the approach, trying to increase the technological abilities for doctors to be able to communicate with these folks somewhere else to reduce the infection chances. We also talked about paid family leave. We talked about surprise medical billing, So paid family leave, surprise medical billing. We also talked about abortions and things like when babies can feel pain. Also, any kind of failed abortions if the baby survives, trying to make sure or trying to keep them alive. Those sorts of things. Again, that will be coming out this afternoon. It's at www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. 20-minute conversation with Senator Bill Cassidy. Some coronavirus information in there. Planning and zoning in DIMM Springs had the Delta Concrete issue come back up. If you're unaware of the issue, it is currently on East Railroad Drive. It does have a Florida Avenue address. There is an old concrete plant. It was Delta Concrete for many years. It was started in 1946. Technically, where it is located is outside of town. I throw up the quotes because now it's definitely not outside of town. In the 40s, it was. It was eventually bought by Angel Concrete in the 2000s. They sort of, in getting into it with residents and some citizens of DIMM Springs, they decided to go ahead and split, and they have a location out in the greater parish as well as a location in Baton Rouge. Left that one defunct after the flood. Now the DIMM Springs Housing Authority is looking to rezone the property in order to turn it into a new location for low to moderate income individuals. Now, there are a lot of folks that are in that area that are fighting against it. It should be interesting to see. Last night, the Planning and Zoning Commission had their second meeting on it. They had it at the beginning of February, was the first time it came up. Packed house, a lot of people arguing against it, only a few for it. And then they tabled it for more information because there were a lot of people bringing up concerns about residents being so close to the train tracks and that sort of thing. Not entirely sure if it was good for those residents or not. The Planning Commission then took time to research some of those concerns. In the meantime, the City Council moved their decision on it to March 23rd. Last time in February, when it was tabled on Monday, it then came to the City Council Tuesday. A lot of residents came and expressed that they didn't feel that 24-hour window was enough. So the City Council gave them 2 weeks. So it'll be March 23rd before the City Council makes their decision on that change. The reason for the move for the Housing Authority, which used to be south of there, is that where it currently sits, south of Florida Boulevard, is just very much in a flood zone, in a major flood zone. Those of you who might have noticed after the flood, if you're coming from the Albertsons area and you go south, it very much dips down. So in order to meet HUD and FEMA requirements, it would have to be built up. But there are FEMA and HUD do not supply funding for things like elevators. And, these buildings would have to go 10, 12 feet up in the air. So they were looking for a new spot that would meet HUD and FEMA requirements so they wouldn't have to build up. It'd be several units. There's a lot of duplexes. There's also a couple of apartment buildings that would go on this new site. Again, last night, the Planning Commission met on it. They voted not to approve it. Now, please remember that the Planning and Zoning Commission at, just about anywhere, but especially at Denham, they are unpaid. This is a recommendation, so it's not finalized yet. The City Council still has to decide on it. They will decide on March 23rd. Doyle girls and Walker girls softball squared off yesterday. Doyle claimed that contest 6-0. Elise Jones, who was the MVP of the state tournament and the state championship game in 2A, turned around and hit a homer in the fifth. So she described to Rodney Yarman, who was out there to cover the game, that she's had a pretty amazing 3 days. You win the state championship, you get MVP, you turn around, you hit a dinger against Walker, and your team claims a win 6-0. So Doyle starting off on a fast leg here in softball. Northside Elementary had a Super Saturday just a few Saturdays ago. This is where they invited students to come up for about 4 hours to take testing practice, as younger kids have to do a lot of standardized testing. Brought them up there, did a lot of logic games, taught them how to take tests. They also did a lot of STEAM activities, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. So it was just a big Saturday, try to keep those kids on campus, keep them busy. It was about 4 hours. You can check that out. www.livingstonparishnews.com living. The DIMM Springs Pilot Club donated $8,000 to Grace Creek Elementary. This is to help them finish or at least continue the progress of their adaptive playground, which is used, they call it adaptive because it's supposed to be safe for kids and those kids with special needs. It was made in honor of a kid named Gabe Michaud. Gabe was a special needs child, but was always out there, playing, having fun, trying to live his best life. Gabe is, no longer with us, but the playground lives on. And thanks to the Pilot Club, it looks like it's going to be either completed or even closer to completion. Grace Creek itself raised $6,700 for the playground. This $8,000 will go on top of that. Ashton Gill, who is a local artist and who was an American Idol contestant, there it is, announced a release of several singles. The first one came out, she released it on Instagram, the full song. That was on February 27th. She said that more singles will be coming throughout the coming months and to please keep an eye on it. The name of the song that she released is Ain't Afraid to Get Lost. So again, Miss Ashton Gill, 21, already trying to find or already found some success by going through American Idol and has now released her first single that is on her Instagram, and you can take a look. I'd recommend, if you like Miss Gill and you like her music, go like her Instagram, because she will be releasing those songs. I believe it's 6 total singles will be coming out via her Instagram page. One more time with your traffic. Remember, there is an accident on I-12 westbound heading into Baton Rouge. Please keep that in mind. You've got delays pretty much from Millerville to Jubin Road. It's going to be slow going if you're taking the interstate into Baton Rouge today for work. There are delays at Forage Club Road, River Road, and 190 in DIMM Springs, trying to get out of town. There are delays on 190 at Eden Church and Jubin Road. Looking at some minor delays in and around the larger high schools as folks continue to funnel out of those areas. Delays on 64 heading into Central as well as Greenville Springs if you take a left there off of 64. Excuse me. Sorry. You're also looking at delays on 447. Sorry, folks. Rough morning this morning. I do apologize for that. Currently 64 degrees, going to get up to 77 degrees today, 61 degrees your overnight low. So we're going to have some pretty wild fluctuations in the weather, although it is a bit dreary outside today. Small chance of rain today. One last time, my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys joining us today for the Livingston Parish Morning Show. Do apologize for a few fumbles today. I'm going to clean it up for tomorrow. Please remember that the news is on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are once a week in print on Thursdays. We are online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. We have an app to go with that. We do put these shows on www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast where you can check them out. Please remember we did have a podcast with Senator Dr. Bill Cassidy, which will come out this afternoon. We hope you check that out at www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. Thanks again for joining us. Hope you have a great day. Hope you stay dry. Sorry for the commute this morning, but I'm just the messenger. See you tomorrow right here in the booth.